Welcome in, Mitch.
Thanks.
Sorry, technical issues.
Right on time. For aspiration prayer. Victorious Buddhas, compassionate ones, throughout the infinite worlds of the 10 directions, grant your blessings so that the inner and outer work that I accomplished today bears the fruits that multiply beyond imagining and extend to the very limits of this existence to benefit myself, the ones I love, and the countless other beings of the six realms.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. That's great. I hope everyone's doing good. You had a great week, a great weekend, especially. And today we're gonna keep on doing what we had started last week because you remember we had a very packed chapter with a lot of enumerations and mnemonics to remember the path and the techniques. So it's a very good review. I wanted to take the time to do it well. There are also some new notions that we've never spoken about that I think are interesting discussions. So we'll follow the same format. Let's do a little guided meditation now to get in the mood, disconnect from daily life, and then after that, um, maybe someone reads the paragraph or the section and we do the discussion about it. Or I do like last week, I read it myself and then tell you about whatever we prefer. So let's take a good deep breath now. Let's leave all that mundane life behind. And let's listen to the bell as we start our day. Simple deep breath help us relax. But it's been a while that I have not done this one. Let's do the 9 breath of Naropa. So basically, you will plug one nostril with your, let's say you will plug right with your right hand, and you will breathe 3 times out of left. That deeply. And then let's switch nostrils. So plug your left nostril with the left hand. Start breathing in and out of the other nostril deeply. 3 times. Then when you're done with that nostril, you can sides. Let's take deep breath, both nostrils. And can see this method is quite simple. Make sure that your bloodstream is well oxygenated while not taking you all the way to hyperventilation. It's done right. You should have a little feeling of euphoria and relaxation. It really helps to break with the outside world. All right, so now that we've worked on the breath a little bit, let's make sure our body is relaxed. Name everything in detail. Let's feel our head, top to bottom, especially the ears, the eyes, jaw. There you have great back, great neck. Your arms are relaxed and sitting comfortably. Your legs are positioned in a way that doesn't create numbness or pain. Make sure you any sign of tension in your limbs and fingers, those all extremities should be soft and relaxed. And now we box to breathe, we call it. So we will breathe in and count to 4 as breathe in, and then we will stop breathing 4 out. 4. We will out, out, 4 again, and then we will stop breathing. We'll count 3 to 4 again. So stop, breathe in, stop, breathe out, stop, and go like so. Let's start breathing out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. 2, 3, 4. In. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. 2, 3, 4, and so on. And count. Try to maintain that control and that attention on your breathing. For a while, it will start feeling a bit weird, a bit more natural, but you can also just start breathing naturally once. Follow the breath with your attention. The mind wanders away, bring it back gently to the breath. Or if you have trouble concentrating, you can restart counting again. So let's do that until the next bell rings. introductory meditation. Did anybody struggle with the boxed breathing, or did it go good for everyone?
A little bit short of breath.
Think your mic.
Don't know if it's the weather.
How about you, Malka? You were saying something?
Yeah, I was saying that I think your mic on my side sounded a little bit so I had to level up the speaker like on maximum.
Oh yeah, so it's possible I am myself a little bit short of breath today, so when I lower my voice for meditation, those vocal cords are barely vibrating. But I will try to speak a bit louder. Um, all right, so yes, box breathing. So if you find yourself that you are out of breath, you can reduce the count to three. Maybe it's easier, and once you have mastered doing it with three, you can go back again and try with four. You can actually go all the way up to 10 with this meditation technique without too many problems. And then you can try and extend the stop interval, so from 10 to even 20 is possible. And so what that happens is that if breathing in takes 10 seconds, and then you stop 10 seconds, and then breathing out and takes another 10 seconds, and you stop again, you're pretty much at 40 seconds for just one breath. So it slows down your entire system considerably. Your heart slows down, your immune system slows down, everything about you. So it's life extension and meditation, guaranteed relaxation, I would say. But it is also something that you must ramp up to. So don't try to do it at once. Four is a good average, but you need to start lower. Start lower. And the Naropa exercise, I don't know if you guys got the result, but that's a good way to just snap out of it. Whatever is happening, let's say you just had a fight with someone and you want to disconnect from it and do your meditation and clear your heart. Well, Naropa's breathing technique is good there because it works a little bit with your with the body to create the proper mind state. All right. So we had
Just a
left
quick question.
yes.
If you don't mind, are you supposed to be breathing in like quickly to get a big breath during those 4 seconds, or just a normal breath?
Well, you need to time it. For me, for example, I find out that I breathe in quite naturally, but when it comes the times to exhale, I kind of need to let go of it if I want to empty my lungs a bit faster. Uh, that's what we do naturally. We kind of breathe in slowly, and we tend to exhale faster. So I find that's what I have to do. But just make sure you have enough oxygen to survive the 4 seconds that you're not breathing, I guess. That's the most important point about it. How fast you or how slow you breathe is just based on that. You feel comfortable. Okay, so last time, if I'm not mistaken, the last point we spoke about, and we did it quickly, was the four viewpoints. So it was about the body's impurity and removing attachment to it and things like that. And we were at page 168, the full right seat. So should I continue like I did last time? I read it and we discuss it, or should we do that more interactive? Julia, I think you're ready
Read it
to
and
read.
discuss it.
I would read it and discuss it. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
like
So perfect. So let's do it like that. I'm all ready. So the four right procedures, book tells us that they are: first, to prevent any evil from starting; second, to remove any evil as soon as it starts; third, to induce the doing of good deeds; and fourth, to encourage the growth and continuance of good deeds that have already started. It says one must endeavor to keep these four procedures. Let's talk about the first one. First, to prevent any evil from starting. That's the first right to see. So I have two questions there. What is evil, and how do we prevent it from starting? What can you guys tell me about evil in Buddhism?
I think evil is when you know that if you will go to certain places, you will probably make some bad things like really bad drugs or too much alcohol, really bad places. So not to put yourself there from beginning, it will be preventing the evil.
That's a very, very good answer. And just to make it clearer, evil in Buddhism is not what society tells us is evil or not. Evil in Buddhism is what is conducive of suffering for you or for others. So if your presence is going to make others suffer at a party, maybe you could decide not to go. If you're going to suffer because, as you said, you might take drugs or alcohol as a result of being at the same party, well, that's another argument for not being there. But basically, whatever makes you kind of lose your balance, what throws you off of balance, would be what you could consider evil. And we don't have our resistance at the same place, right? Some people are perfectly able to go at a party, have a few drinks, and walk away, nothing happens. Others like it a little bit much, and then they cannot stop, and then it becomes an entirely different story. So it's really about your balance and what shakes you and what doesn't. So don't do the thing. No, don't be in the places where you get thrown out of balance. Would probably be the best way to prevent any evil from starting. But I also want to speak about relationships there. Maybe you have a friend or a family member, for example, that is always in trouble. Maybe that's a close friend or close family member. And whenever they get in trouble, it gets you in trouble as well. Or maybe the police would never have knocked on your door, but since you relate with that person, sometimes the police does come and knock on your door. Or other things happen. Or maybe they're just a bad influence. So sometimes it's not you looking for the time and the place where evil can happen. Sometimes it's through association like that, or a source of trouble could be looking for you, could be after you, like that. And it could be based on the best feelings ever of mutual, uh, you get along well, you like one another, or you have a mutual interest with that person. But just because you have that one beautiful thing going on doesn't mean that it's a healthy relationship or that it won't have any consequences in your life. So we need to be critical of this as well, and we need to make sure that if we decide to stay around those people, if we decide to allow them in our lives, still, well, we understand the consequences and we know when it's time to walk away or how not. So that's, I guess, the point is to say that you don't have to walk into it, and it can walk through you. So then you have to be smart enough to recognize it. Second, to remove any evil as soon as it starts. Anybody with an example of that? Of removing evil as soon as it starts? How does evil
If
start?
you get frustrated by a situation, you need to calm yourself down. Just not losing control.
Yes,
Something like that.
Yes, Mid, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, pretty similar to Mayor. For example, if you get angry at somebody while you are talking with them, discussing them, then sometimes it's maybe good to remove yourself from the situation, just apologize and walk away from it, that you don't get even angrier and say something bad.
So yes, let's cut it in smaller parts, just fun. So where does that evil start? It usually starts in the mind, right? there's something that we're satisfied with. There's something that scared us or that we don't want happening and trying to prevent it. Then maybe we start to be angry, frustrated. Yes, smart.
Can you hear me? Because you were not
Yeah.
responding. Oh, okay.
Yes, I can hear
Great.
you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I
Okay.
just responded and you immediately get over to him, so I thought maybe you couldn't hear me.
Oh, no, it's just I wanted more information before I answered. So it's
No
fine.
problem. I just got no reaction, so I thought, huh? No problem.
Okay. Well, that was a very good answer, Mark. Thank you. I'm just kidding. So, yeah. So if you want to remove evil, well, you need to understand how it works. So usually, you have this seed that is planted in the mind, and if you are feeling frustrated, and you start thinking, who do they think they are, treating me like dirt? I'll show them. So if you have that kind of narrative starting in your mind, well, probably the next step will be that you might speak to them or write to them or yell at them. But if you keep on feeding just that in your mind, an action of sort, at least a word is about to be born. And then if the word escalates still, well, you might go forward there. So if you want to remove any evil as soon as it starts, what you need is mindfulness. You need to know what's going on in your mind. That way you can catch yourself in the act of building that war in your mind, the act of being frustrated and scared and angry, whatever. And so it is actually through mindfulness. And so, yes, the minute you become mindful, making the decision to apologize, walk away, or take a deep breath, change your tone. There are many, many strategies that we use, but none of them will happen if we don't notice that we are lost, that we are become kind of violent or problematic. And evil is not just being angry, right? Since it's violent, we often think of it, but let's say that it's just a situation that made me anxious instead. So once I notice that I am anxious, I can start dealing with it. Otherwise, I'm in a panic pit. It becomes a lot more difficult to retake control over the situation, if that makes sense. So that's what I would say about the remove any evil as soon as it starts. And then third, to induce the doing of good deeds. What does that mean to you? Why is it important to do good deeds? Why is it one of the four right?
Because this will help to make the peace between the humans. Actually, one.
Right?
And you
Anybody
go
else
to a
about
higher
that?
world. You go to a higher world when you pass. If you do good deeds.
Well, in a way, you will be in a higher state of mind for sure. Eh? You will be feeling more at peace. Actually, Malka has a very good answer there because your words and your actions are creating peace around you. So the likeliness that these people will come back at you and frustrate you um, are more unlikely. But also think when you have a very good day. You're everything's going your way, you're smiling, you're happy, and then something happens. Isn't it easy to brush it aside and you're thinking, oh, I won't let that little one thing that happened to me waste my day. I'm having such a good day. I'm not going to pay attention to that. So if you keep yourself in a peaceful realm most of the time, uh, it's more difficult to throw you off balance because you are really well seated in your throne there. You're really well established in your peace, and you are even building an outer walls of people that are also peaceful around you. So unlike that relationship that I was mentioning earlier, that can come and knock on your door with the police because they're in trouble. Well, this time you are creating peaceful people around, and so they have to go through your peace and the peace of these individuals to get. So it's a powerful thing. And then to encourage the growth and continuance of good deeds that have already started. So of course, if it's a habit, then you are peaceful and stable all the time. But why to encourage? Well, because these people are going to add another layer and another layer to that kind of fort of peace that you are building. And so, yes, slowly we can transform humanity. Everybody gets to remain in a beautiful, balanced state. Of course, it sounds a bit utopic, but if we really started to do it one by one, no doubt it could happen. I guess this was the first Saturday with today. Any questions about that so far? Or comparing there?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I guess when it comes to like evil and good, it's always very subjective, right? And if we do follow these rules where we try to induce good and encourage doing of good, I guess that's gonna be clashing between different people who look at good in different ways. So how do you deal with different people having different perspectives of what is good?
Right. So I think it all comes back to the definition of suffering in Buddhism, which is the condition of isolation that leads to competition and fear that we discussed a little bit earlier, but also to desires of change and trying to dominate the situation so that it remains under control. So the sense of suffering is pretty much centered around that in Buddhism. And so these are the three poisons, actually: ignorance, fear, and anger. So you could say that anything that will cause that in others, anything that will keep them in their illusion of separation, anything that will that will create fear or that will create anger in them, is something that is basically perpetuating suffering. And that by doing so, it will come back to you as well. Because scared people scare others. And angry people are people that you make angry, then afterwards can be violent with you, right? So it just blows in your face like that. So it's not an absolute of good and evil. It's just, as I said, about keeping your balance. So if you are doing what's necessary for you to keep your balance, and if you are aware enough of what helps others stay balanced in their life, and you're walking on eggs, making sure that you're not kicking anybody off of their, of their stand there. That's how you will create that harmony. So good and evil are too strong of words as far as I'm concerned. There, it's not really about a moral or ethical code. It's more about mutual respect, I guess. Understanding that what I'm going through, you are also going through, and trying to define the rules based on my own experience because we're both human. I don't know if that's clear enough or if that makes any sense. Let's go. What do you think?
Yeah, it does to a point. Like you say, it's not necessarily like strict moral definition of what is good and evil. It's more about ignorance, fear, and I forgot what the third one is. I guess I just need to read up on those and understand them better.
Yeah, they're the central precepts of Buddhism, and kind of everything else that is explained always goes back to ignorance, fear, and anger. This is what suffering does. And yeah, so if you always look at it from that point of view, and you really think of the consequences and everything, you will kind of see how you can arrange your behavior in order not to cause that. All right. So our next entry here is number 6. The 5 faculties of power are: first, the faith to believe; second, the will to make the endeavor; third, the faculty of alertness; fourth, the ability to concentrate one's mind; and fifth, the ability to maintain clear wisdom. These 5 faculties are necessary powers to attain enlightenment. So the first one is interesting because it's formulated as the faith to believe. And then one could think, but isn't having faith having belief already? And faith is a different concept in Buddhism and is based on your experience. For example, I may be exposed to those stories, and you may be exposed to everything that I'm saying, thinking whether you agree or you disagree. It's fine, but it's also very intellectual. But there might be a point that you connect with and you know this point to be true because you have had an experience of that in your real life. And you say, for example, oh, it is true. When I'm too attached to something, invariably impermanence kicks in and I get frustrated. So you may recognize yourself in a cycle like that teacher, and that may resonate. And then you go back to your life and you observe it again and again. So that's what Buddhism means by faith, is you when it's kind of reliable. You've seen the teaching in the real world, in your real life, and you can put your faith that this is happening. And so from a part of the teaching that you have learned to rely upon because you observed it, you can start thinking, well, that other thing I don't understand completely quite yet, or I'm not sure how frequent or useful this thing is. But, for example, they tell me to do good deeds in Buddhism. Well, there might be something there. So maybe out of belief, because I had faith in the beginning and it was proven to me that it worked, maybe that next part that I don't understand yet, I just should believe in it until I get it. So that's what they mean here by first the faith to believe, so that you are established enough in your practice that you know some parts of it to be true, and from there you decide to raise the path. That's what that means there. And I know it's quite subtle, but it's very different from blind faith. In Buddhism, you are told to doubt everything that is told. And every teacher teach Buddhism slightly different. The core concepts are the same, but my interpretation might not be another teacher's interpretation. So in the end, it's for you to decide what is true for you, what you put your faith into, what you will choose to believe. And it becomes your path. And second, the will to make the endeavor. Well, I guess that's a simple one, right? Once you have started, then you can get into it wholeheartedly. Practice. And I was speaking with someone earlier. The person was telling me, and he's a practitioner, and he was telling me, well, I'm having a little bit more anxiety this week, and we quickly established that they had meditated a little bit less than usual, and that maybe more anxiety was back because there was less meditation. So that's the thing there. Buddhism without practice doesn't do anything for us. We need to really incorporate it in our life, and it's not just on the cushion. It's about being alert and mindful every minute of it. That's where the payback really gets. All right. The other one is a bit more, I guess, accessible. The faculty of alert. So, what does it mean to you? Why is it important to be alert?
I guess to be able to notice your emotions and whether your mind is leaning and getting out of balance. And as soon as you recognize that, your mind tends to try to correct that and balance itself out again.
Bingo. And I mean, alertness, we don't talk about that often, I guess. Alertness and awareness, as I prefer to call it, is not only for what's happening within, it's also for what's happening without. So obviously, if a car is running in your direction, get out of the way, you know. But if it's a mental car, you should probably do the same. If you are getting very angry, you probably applying some antidote there, mental or emotional, to manage the situation better. So alertness is exactly what it means there. It's what rings the bell. It's what triggers the alert that, hey, maybe we need to adapt right now to the situation, or maybe we need to change our behavior, our way of thinking, or feeling about it. Or maybe we just need to feel. Sometimes it's just that, right? We are frustrated with what somebody has said. Well, why is that hurting? So without alertness, you don't even see that you are feeling. And then it goes hand in hand with fourth, which they call the ability to concentrate one's mind. So anybody remembers what's the concentration of the mind there? Is it to focus on something to the point that we forget that everything else exists? Is that what concentration means in Buddhism? That type of laser focus? Not sure.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted to say that I will need to go now. I really appreciated to be with y'all today for this lesson, and I probably come back other days, but I can't make any promise.
Thank you for being there. We'll always be happy to
No
have you
problem.
whenever you can join.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you a lot, everyone.
Okay, bye. So, concentration in the sense that is brought up here, I don't know if it's a mistranslation but think of something very complicated and very long that you have to do. Of course, in between you will have to eat, you will have to sleep, if it's an endeavor that lasts for several years, you will have to do other things. You cannot just be concentrated on that all the time. Well, enlightenment and let's say mind management or mind management is a bit like this. If you were always like in meditative absorption, you wouldn't get a lot done. So the concentration there is more about resilience. It's about going back time and time again to your original objective. So let's say that what we decide to concentrate on is nirvana or peace or being zen. Call it whatever you want. You have this idea that you want more happiness and more stability in life. So that's the object of your concentration. Now, does it mean that everything else will just stop happening in your life? Probably not. So concentration there is just something that you should not forget. And coupled with your alertness, you would see, oh, I'm being sidetracked now. Let me concentrate and bring myself back to the peace. So that's really the mindfulness component there. And that's what we practice shamatha. Shamatha is called a single point of the mind. So you're always bringing back to your breath, or you can choose any other object. But the idea is that we're developing that faculty of concentrating, going back always to what we wanted our life about. So balance. This. And fifth, the ability to maintain clear wisdom. So this one is kind of a result of everything that we have covered so far. Like to understand wisdom, you must understand the nature of ignorance. And once you have understood the nature of ignorance, and I would even say the nature of love, then you have to be alert. You have to be aware when ignorance and suffering and love are present or not present in your life, so that you can reconnect with whatever it is that you want to connect all the time. That's what we would call a stable wisdom. Someone that can never be thrown out of balance for too much time at a time. Someone that would recover very quickly from any type of event and refocus on love and the primordial teachings. Imagine it's a war and all of a sudden bombs start exploding around you. Well, you could very well decide to start shaking and yelling and running, crying in your basement and not move from there for the next 10 days. And it might be actually wise to take shelter. But as soon as the danger is gone, if you're still shaking in the basement, then something broke inside. Right? Something broke in your mind or in your heart. The danger is gone. So messed up. So that's where the stability of wisdom kicks in. Is if you are that wise person, you should get out of your basement and maybe start looking at your neighbor and trying to help your neighbor and find something to feed yourself and your family, and that's what having stable wisdom will allow you. So these five faculties, they say, are necessary powers to attain enlightenment. Well, I would argue here that enlightenment is nothing but stable state. And that is why your meditation practice is so important. That is why meditation is not just for the cushion half an hour or an hour a day. Meditation is for every moment of the day. What do we mean by meditation? How would you guys define meditation that we are practicing?
Practicing your awareness and concentration.
Yeah, it's all of the above, isn't it? Meditation is that thing where you are basically creating the right context and the right circumstances so that the subconscious becomes conscious, so that you notice what's going on in your mind, your heart. And by noticing, that's your awareness. And from your awareness, you can practice your concentration. And if you do that often, you will stabilize in your wisdom and you will be in enlightened ground all the time. So meditation is enlightenment. The mean is the end. And the more you practice and the more it becomes natural and the more enlightened you like. And that is why you have all of those sayings in Buddhism telling you you already have everything that you need to be a Buddha. We all have concentration and awareness. We can all gain an understanding of suffering. So if you just practice your meditation seriously, wholeheartedly, and you do that often and you kind of slowly reprogram yourself with peace instead of keeping your current programming that is geared towards suffering, then you will spend more and more time in nirvana. Is it possible to be fully enlightened? Probably not, not while you're alive, because you will always find that little area, that little something, that little bomb that explodes that you didn't see coming, that can throw you out of balance for a little while. But it becomes about how fast you recover from anything. And if you do, and if you are able to recover, that's enlightenment. Like, what more do you want? You get to enjoy a beautiful life where you can spend 99.5% of your time in contentment and happiness and a soft joy. And isn't that a beautiful thing? That is why you meditate. That is why every Buddhist teacher that you will meet, their preferred subject to teach about is meditation. They all think that if they were to teach you about only one thing, it should be of meditation. Because if I teach you about that and I disappear tomorrow, just through practicing, you could reach the same conclusion. Just through meditating every day, you could see the good and you could reach it. So you could never have heard a single word from the Buddha, but you could have learned to meditate and you would attain the same place that he did 2,500 years ago. Yep, just go.
So I read the story of Buddha, the person, and it was said that around the time before he became enlightened, he was following the way of the ascetics, the people who tried to achieve enlightenment, to find way, to find peace within. And one of the things that they did, beyond many others, was meditation. So, do you think they themselves managed to achieve enlightenment before Buddha?
Yes, but I'm going to say something that is not very popular. It depends on the practitioner. A lot of people use their mind in meditation like they would use a recreational drug. Some people like to travel mentally and to conjure all kinds of images. They're after the feel-good feeling. And that's what they dedicate their meditation session. Others are trying to do telepathy, others are trying to levitate, others are... So all of this, unfortunately, falls under the label meditation. Anything that is kind of fun and relaxing and happens on the cushion will fall under the label meditation. But the meditation I am describing here is the meditation that, yes, would lead you to enlightenment. And of this one, you cannot have that many minds. It's really about self-knowledge. What happens to practitioner of every tradition is that they genuinely sometimes also try to practice, but they get into a pitfall. For example, since it's called enlightenment, there are people that sit on a cushion and at some point they have a vision of a light. And then they think, oh, that was enlightenment. And so you might meet them 22 years later and you say, what's your practice? And they're like, oh, I'm bringing those lights up and I'm focusing on that and I feel so good as I see the lights in nothingness. Right? And say, well, good for you, but what a shame you have just lost 22 years of your life because that won't bring anything to you. It won't make you happier outside of the Christian. It won't make you necessarily a wiser person. You just found a tool there that you can use like a marijuana joint, basically. You can go and sit and have an experience and disconnect from the world, and then when you raise from the cushion, the world is back. So that's kind of what the Buddha discovered when he was with the ascetics. He was practicing the meditation as they were teaching them. But yogic meditation are quite simple. Some are to raise a sexual power. Some are to increase your breathing capacity or to stay underwater as long as possible. So the story does not say what he was practicing exactly with the ascetics, but it might have been a flavor of those yogic meditation. But let's say they were practicing right. Let's say they taught that to the Buddha, and they taught him exactly how to practice a meditation to lead him. Well, just because you're taught that today doesn't mean you'll be fully enlightened or that you will get it. So it could be that those ascetics, they planted the seed and it took maybe 20 years after that to really reach the epiphany of, oh, that's the thing. That's what I have just discovered in myself. But geez, these guys, they don't teach right. Let me write something else that would make that more obvious. That might be what the Buddha actually understood. Does that make sense to all of you? Any
Yes.
questions about that? The delusions and experiences? Julia, I saw your hand raised.
I think what Disco was referring to is what asceticism. The ascetics were not eating nor drinking, just meditating. So that was the extreme way that they found of torturing the body to ascend spiritually, and that's what the historic Buddha didn't follow. He found the middle way, and it was not of torturing the body and making yourself physically suffer.
Yeah, Buddha found it unnecessary to put yourself through all these hardships and to do self harm, basically, to find wisdom. And it's almost as if this ascetic path is based on saying, okay, you want to reach enlightenment, but I don't know if you have suffered in your life or not, and you must know suffering before you know the end of suffering. So here I have a great toolkit. Let's make sure you suffer quite a bit, and then we will help you discover the tools to free yourself from it. Right? That's the ascetic path, to raise your awareness through pain by inflicting yourself pain, by inflicting yourself addiction. The transgressions lines become very obvious. It becomes very obvious what happens when you don't eat. And so after that, when you see somebody is starving, you know exactly what they're going through. And if you are sleeping on a bed of nails, then you might have an idea of somebody that's getting their flesh cut in a war, what they're going through, if you have endured some of that. So the ascetics path is about keeping stable, keeping resilient in the face of extreme hardship. And so the Buddha said, okay, yeah, maybe that works, but it's not necessary. It won't get you there faster if you just observe yourself in the small things. Like if I drop my favorite cup of coffee and it breaks, well, that's fine. There's suffering in there. There's impermanence in there. So all of the teachings are basically the same in a broken cup than in a broken body. And that's where I think the middle way is going. Um, but I thought this girl was asking specifically about the meditation techniques that they taught, and they could be opposed or similar. But I thought it was a good opportunity to actually clarify what I mean when I mean meditation is real. The practice, what helps you deal with suffering, what helps you free yourself from suffering, which, as he named himself, is awareness and mindfulness, or as it was there, alert and concern, stable. There was a lot of words. Are we all clear with that? Anything else? We're good? Okay, so we move on to what is called here. This text is a little bit longer, so let's read it all here. So the perfection of 6 practices for reaching the other shore of enlightenment are the path of offering, the path of keeping precept, the path of endurance, the path of endeavor, the path of concentration of mind, and the path of wisdom. By following these paths, one can surely pass from the shore of delusion over to shore of, and then they go by explaining all of these paths. So the practice of offering gets rid of selfishness. The practice of precepts keeps one thoughtful of the rights and comforts of others. The practice of endurance helps one to control a fearful or angry mind. The practice of endeavor helps one be diligent and faithful. The practice of a concentration helps one to control a wandering and futile mind. And the practice of wisdom changes a dark, confused mind into a clear, penetrating insight. So can everybody see how the practice of offering gets rid of selfishness? How would that work?
Yeah, so you give something that you have to somebody else who needs it. So you're offering something that is yours to someone else or to a group or to people. And that's how you cope with selfishness, because you don't keep it all for yourself.
That's one way there. And so the precepts, if you remember, the precepts was, refraining from killing and sexual misconducts and intoxicants and lying and so on. So how does that keep me thoughtful of the rights and comforts of others? And I have precept. No?
That's a good one. So if you do those things, you need to be in control of it, so you don't hurt anyone else. I guess something like that.
Right. So let's take an extreme example. Maybe somebody's blocking the door where I need to go and they're unaware of me. It would be convenient for me to kill them and get rid of them. They're in the way. But that's kind of shitty, isn't it? That's not something I really want to do because it removes a human life. So a precept like that says do not kill is kind of a reminder telling you, well, would you like it if they did that to you? Would you like to be lied to? Would you like to be? So it's kind of showing you that these are big ways in which you can cause suffering to others, and so you should refrain from it because if it was you, you certainly wouldn't like it. So it's do not do unto others what you have done unto you type of. The practice of endurance is one of my favorite ones because I feel it's very useful. For example, let's say at work you reach that part where you don't feel happy anymore, or you I don't know, you feel either underemployed or not respected or whatever, or you feel somebody might hate you. So it's easy to fall into sort of a rationale where you are thinking about finding a new job and moving away, and then not deserving or being very fearful to lose your job. So endurance is there to say, okay, forget all those plans that you're making and just look at the facts right there in the face, and look at your fear right there in the face, and uh, realize that it's only an emotion. There might not be a threat right now, or if there's a threat, how long can you live peacefully with the threat being close by? And so, endurance, I feel, I have a lot of practical applications in life. And then the practice of endeavor, I guess, is about kind of call and so on. But let's keep on reading and let's see what they're saying. So offering and keeping precepts make the foundation necessary to build a great castle. Endurance and endeavor are the walls of castle, protect against enemies from outside. Concentration and wisdom are the personal armor that protects one against the assaults of life. So you see here, it's a bit like I was describing earlier. It's adding onion layers of peace around you. The more you practice, the more you share those. If one gives away a gift only when convenient, or because it is easier to give than not to give, it is an offering, of course, but it is not a true. A true offering comes from a sympathetic heart before any request is made, and the true offer is the one that gives not occasionally, but constantly. So you shouldn't give out of pity or because you can afford it. You should give because it's good for the person that needs it, and it's good for you to give. It removes your selfishness to be given all the time, and it solves, I guess, problems. If somebody is thirsty or hungry and you feed them and you give them something to drink, then you're solving a different kind of problem. Same. Say neither is it a true offering if after the act there are feelings of regret or of self. A true offering is one that is given with pleasure, forgetting oneself as the gift, the one who receives it, and the gift itself. So it's sort of a way of saying that giving should be natural, should receive and give without thinking too much about it, being detached, basically. True offering springs spontaneously from one's pure compassionate heart, with no thought of any return, wishing to enter into a life of enlightenment together. And then they go into an enumeration of very interesting forms of offering. Say, there are 7 kinds of offering which can be practiced by even those who are not. The first is the physical offering. This is to offer service by one's labor. The highest type of this offering is to offer one's own life, as is shown in the following. Which the second is the spiritual offering. This is to offer a compassionate heart to others. The third is the offering of eyes. This is to offer a warm glance to others, which will give them tranquility. That's an interesting one, right? You can do it on the bus. Isn't it amazing? This way. To just look peacefully at people. Look at people on the bus or on the train. A lot of them look angry. A lot of them look tired. Some of them look like they're having a good time. Some of them absent-minded. But very few of them will look warm. And if you could be there, kind of that source of peace, just with your glance, that's already quite the offering. The fourth is the offering of countenance. This is to offer a soft countenance with smile to others. You can do warm glance with a warm smile. That's even better. The fifth is the oral offering. This is to offer kind and warm words to others. The sixth is the seat offering. This is to offer one seat to others. Seventh is the offering of shelter. This is to let others spend the night in home. These kinds of offerings can be practiced by anyone and everybody. I think I would write a practices for the bus, a book called Practices for the Bus, just on this paragraph there. It's so practical and simple. Yet how many of us do that consistently?
I live in London. I think that's forbidden on the tube.
Is it? Yeah, no, it's very strange. Whenever I go, we don't have people do here, but in Montreal, that are I do the train there often. It's amazing that no matter how many people there are in the wagon, nobody's looking for another. Everybody is finding that little spot, that little corner of wall or of floor that nobody's looking at, and they fixate upon it until the ride is done. There's not much humanity, unfortunately, although we are surrounded and packed with it. I don't know if it's the same in London, but feels to me like people don't want to relate that closely in the transportations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's the story about Prince Sattva. One day, he and his 2 elder brothers went to a forest glade. There they saw a famished tigress, which was evidently tempted to devour her own 7 cubs to satisfy her own. The elder brothers ran away in fear, but Sattva climbed up a cliff and threw himself over to the tigress in order to save the lives of the cubs. Prince Sattva did this charitable act spontaneously, but within his mind he was thinking, this body is changing and impermanent. I have loved this body with no thought of throwing it away, but now I make it an offering to this tigress so that I may gain. This thought of Prince Sattva shows the true determination of the game. You have abundant examples like that in Buddhism of people that decide to give their life away, save oftentimes animals, other times other human beings, or even ghosts and demons as a gesture of selflessness. And that's really what it means there. That you need to give selflessly. It needs not to be painful, even if it's your own body that you're doing. If you remove the mental chatter that accompanies the gesture, you will be surprised at what you can give up. And that's why I guess in literature like the Bible or the Bible, the story of Jesus Christ, um, you would find that the apostles are leaving everything behind, giving everything away. They're basically our poverty, so that whatever they gain, they give back, because it's been at the heart of many enlightened practices forever. If you are able to give yourself and your because our possessions, they're just extensions of who we are. They're just extensions of our identity. Do we realize how much standing is my iPhone giving me, or my Mercedes Benz, or my house, or the neighborhood where I live? Some people live day in and day out, name dropping and showing off brand. So when you are when the character that you have constructed to introduce yourself to others in life is based on those pieces and on those brands, it is a bit superficial. It doesn't have a lot of depth. So it's difficult then to renounce the iPod, the iPhone, because as you give it away, it's like you're giving an arm or a leg. Same thing, you wouldn't renounce your car. What's going to happen? It's like you die. And that's, I hope, the entire lesson there. And it doesn't matter whether physical or material or spiritual. Giving us doesn't make us less. Actually, it makes us more, because we're freeing ourselves from our material prison. We are expanding the limits that we reach with our own body and mind in this world. And therefore, we are maximizing our impact. It's a good thing to think about and meditate. Are we good so far? Questions or commentaries? Okay, so let's read one more, and we can do our meditation. So there are four unlimited states of mind that the seeker of enlightenment should cherish: are compassion, tenderness, gladness, and equanimity. One can remove greed by cherishing compassion. One can remove anger through tenderness. One can remove suffering by gladness. And one can remove the habit of discrimination of enemies and friends by cherishing iniquity. It is a great compassion that makes people happy and contented. It is a great tenderness that removes everything that does not make people happy. It is a great gladness that makes everyone happy and contented with a mind of joy. And there is a great peacefulness when everyone is happy and contented. And then one can have equal feelings everywhere. With care, one may cherish these four unlimited states of mind, and may get rid of greed, anger, suffering in the minds of love-hate. But it is not an easy thing to do. An evil mind is as hard to get rid of as a watchdog, and a right mind is as easy to lose as a deer. For an evil mind is as hard to remove as letters carved in stone, and a right mind is as easy to lose as word written. Indeed, it is the most difficult thing in life to train. So that would be the part. So obviously, if I'm compassionate, then I see people suffer all around me, and I start realizing that whatever it is that I take and keep for myself, and others can't have it. I have all the food in the world and everybody's dying of hunger around. It's not right. If I become conscious of that, I probably won't be able to bear it. I will start sharing. So that's how they apply compassion as a remedy for greed. And that's what it's about, actually, when you hear the Tibetan Buddhism path of the Dalai Lama being Shinrezig, or he's supposed to be the living god of passion. That's his message there. That's what he's bringing. He's helping us be less greedy and less oriented towards possession, own stuff, so that we can share more. And greed is born in fear as well. It's me fearing that I will not have enough to eat to begin with. That makes me act. So compassion, if I'm alone and I'm fearful, it's difficult. But it's a little better if I have a compassionate mother or a compassionate nurse that is by my side taking care of me competently. So that's what we need to be there with our compassion. We need to be the competent person that reduces the level of distress in life. So it's really works. Tenderness, as opposed to anger, is not trying to get its way by force and by domination. It's actually saying, well, I am not opposing anything to you. In fact, I will take the punches if you hit me. That's what tenderness is about. So you may use that weapon against me, but it simply won't work. I am not susceptible to your acts of domination. Furthermore, that's not how I lead. I lead softly. I lead uh, with empathy and through connections with people, not through domination. When I look on TV right now, lots of video clips, and I don't know why, but especially the music industry, there's so much talk about respect in those songs. And when you take the time to listen to the lyrics, there is no respect at all. There is only fear. Fear. People are confusing fear with respect. People think that when people are afraid, they are getting respect. And so this is what anger brought into the world. Getting respect through anger actually only makes others respectful. While you can get the respect because you're tender and because you're genuinely nice. That's what we should focus on. And then gladness, I like to recall it. And you heard me say that before, and I'm saying it again. If you want to be rich right here, right now, just be content. The minute that you're not content, you're poor because you're desiring anything that you don't have. The minute that you're not content, you're saying that this world is inadequate, that this world should be otherwise, that you're picking a fight with life, basically, and you're going to lose. So, contentment is the true prosperity mentality. To be happy with whatever you have, whether at war, whether in a famine, whether rich, whether ugly or beautiful. If you can manage to be content with what you have, then you can relax and you can even have more. And then finally, there was this speech of a word called equanimity, saying that once you're peaceful, you can treat everybody equal. First that. And how that works is that if you are content, if you consider that you are, it means that you consider that you have enough of everything. If you have enough of everything, then you can be generous. If you can be generous with it, then you are not threatened, and you are not fearful, and you are not angry. And you are creating a lot of happy people as well with what you share and what you feast. And therefore, everything starts equalizing. You get an experience of life that is less and less challenging and more harmonious and fun. And so it's just math at this point. You have created that equality, that equanimity in your life, and that quality as well. And it's a beautiful thing to cultivate. So unfortunately, we won't have the time to finish this chapter again. It's so packed. But I think next time we will. And before we move on to meditation, I just wanted to know if there were some topics that you would like to discuss or bring up this week. Everyone's good? Let's move on to our second meditation. This one I like to try and do what I would call proper. So it's a silent one. Try and keep your eyes open a little bit. We are trying to get in a meditative state that we can carry around with us in real life. So take a couple of deep breaths, maybe close your eyes for a couple of seconds, and then keep them one quarter open, looking at a 45 degrees angle in front of you. Just focus on the breath. Be aware of what's going on inside and outside. you might use your mic. Your strange noise there. That completes our second meditation session. Thank you all for being there once again. Pleasure having you. Julia, would you join me for dedication?
Sure. So, our dedication prayer. For the benefit of beings without exception, I dedicate, without any reticence whatsoever, all the merit accrued through virtuous acts to the incomparable expanse of reality.
And namaste to all of you. I'll exit the temple. And I hope to see you soon again. Take good care.
Till next week.